I'm making a video game. When last you saw it, it looked like this. Exciting, isn't it? Top quality, AAA grade, superb, wonderful, very good, nice, perfect, done. Getting sued by Nintendo, going bankrupt, living in prison, recording this devlog with my cellmate, Daryl. Marvellous. Let's talk game design. Alright, so we can't keep this art forever. Can't even keep it for the next 2 minutes, to be honest. So I think it's time we did the big reveal. Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is my honour and privilege to demonstrate to you Project NBT. Oh, hang on. No, that's not it. Hang on. There's a lot to go over here, but yes, Project NBT has art now. In fact, hang on, we probably need a proper title, don't we? Right, I'll do you a deal. You watch to the end of the video, and before I beg you to like and subscribe, I'll give you the title of the game. Deal? Cool. Right, a lot to cover, so let's get on with it. So yes, this is where we're at now visually. I think we can all agree it's easily, by a large margin, the best looking thing I've ever done. And there's a very good reason for that. I didn't do it. I mentioned this over on LTGDX, my vloggy life update rambling channel, but Project NBT is actually my first long-term collaboration. I've teamed up with someone you might know, and if you don't, you're about to. You might notice the game has a magical wizardy theme, which is appropriate because the man doing all of the actual heavy lifting on Project NBT is an absolute wizard. His name is Joe, but you'll know him as Foozle CC, a long-time magician of what's possible in Construct 3. He's the guy who made a full 3D game in C3 in the time it took me to figure out how to export a single Blender model that worked. In fact, he's the guy who taught me how to do that as well. He is basically a bit of a genius. What this means is that I, the game design guy behind Let's Talk Game Design, can focus on, surprisingly, game design. What a twist. Anyway, Joe's going to be walking you through the technical aspects of how we've achieved this marvel, because I honestly don't have a clue. Seriously. He's tried explaining it to me over Discord, but I just kind of sit there nodding. So instead, go subscribe to his channel where he'll eventually be making more technically minded devlogs as to how we got this far, and then come back here to hear about why we've gone where we have, because that's my wheelhouse. And the best place to start with that for you is... You might notice that it looks really good. Like, really good. Some of you will no doubt be surprised that this is still running in Construct 3. You'll be even more surprised to hear that this uses absolutely none of Construct's new 3D features. You'll also notice, because you're observant and wonderful people, that the general overall aesthetics of the game are very cohesive. It all looks like it belongs there, as part of something we've spent hours and weeks and years on lovingly crafting from scratch. And now, a secret. I am not an artist. Alright, that's not a secret, it's common knowledge. But Joe is also surprisingly not an artist. Neither one of us are art people and we don't have an art person on the team. Instead, what we've done is ransack a lot of available pre-made assets, and by a process of alchemy, created magical, wonderful, incredibly polished looking pseudo 3D graphics for our game. And it's all because of this. This is Hades, Supergiant's masterful, award-winning roguelike that you should all play because it's brilliant. We'll be talking some more about Hades in a later devlog because there's other aspects that I've stolen, borrowed, but for now we're focused on those aesthetics. I'm not very technical, but I think I'm right in saying that Hades is using cell shading. It's big, chunky, satisfying 3D models with thick, visible black outlines and block shading on all the geometric faces. It's such a good aesthetic that I stole it. Teachable moment, steal well, steal often. I know I've told you that before, but it does bear repeating, because when you're lacking in artistic skill, you've got to get creative. And a huge part of creativity in general, in any project, anywhere in the rest of your life, is just shamelessly stealing stuff that other people have already done. Not in a way that infringes on copyright, obviously, but in terms of things like processes and aesthetics, you can borrow as much as you want. There are wonderfully talented people out there who have already done the heavy lifting, and you shouldn't feel in any way ashamed for saying, hey, yes, I like this, I'm also going to do that, because your creativity comes through in the bits that you haven't stolen, and nobody expects you to reinvent the wheel, especially if you're not artistically gifted. Now, this lack of artistic talent means we needed to go somewhere to get hold of something that looks good, and Joe, in his position as resident wizard, already had access to a treasure trove of ridiculously impressive looking assets. This leads me neatly onto the main point of this devlog. Time for a history lesson, so grab your notebook. Not so long ago, there was a pretty big wave of outrage and anger at the state of some of the game releases happening on Steam. These releases were of incredibly low quality with no thought or effort put into them at all. We saw a lot of games that generally became known as asset flips. An asset flip involved downloading pre-made asset packs, usually from the Unity store, assembling them into the most basic and not designed video game ever made, and then releasing or flipping them onto Steam for actual money. It was horrible. It caused massive amounts of reputational damage for Unity for a while. There were so many of these that to your average game-playing person, seeing the Unity logo pop up at the start of a game was an indication of absolute bargain basement shovelware awfulness. I'd like to think that reputation has changed now, given how many high-quality titles are shipped on the Unity engine, but you'll still find some people out there who think all Unity games are low-effort garbage. Then again, you'll find some people out there who think Skyward Sword is a bad video game, so, you know, there's always going to be morons. My point is, Unity's asset store, and by association asset packs in general, were once seen as the go-to for low-effort amateur game production. In fact, it still happens now. If you go to the Google Play Store and check out the top 3 games, you'll see a litany of cheap, hyper-casual garbage designed to shift ad revenue to brain-dead slugs. These are absolutely made with asset packs and are the lasting remnants of the asset flip movement. In fact, it's not just on mobile, sometimes you get them on Switch as well. Mostly anything with simulator in the title, usually. Just utter garbage from top to bottom. Anyway, point is, asset packs can be misused. But much like animals, there are no bad dogs, only bad owners. And if you want to be a responsible asset pack owner, there's a very simple thing you need to do. A thing that we, as part of Project NBT, have done. The underlying issue with asset packs is that obviously if you want to build an entire game full, you're going to need lots of them, and you're probably not going to be lucky enough to get hold of a game's worth of assets from a single creator. Although even if you do, that's a pretty great first step on the path to making an asset flip, and that's just a bad idea, so don't do that. So what do? Well, it's not enough to just have the assets, you need to figure out how to make them work together. I mentioned earlier that Foozle and I have no artistic skills, but that wasn't necessarily true. Now, sure, we can't create high quality assets from scratch with animations, detailing, solid proportions and all that other stuff that artsy types are good at, but we do have an artistic eye for what makes sense and what works together. If you look at Project NBT now, you'll notice that all of the colours, outline styles, squash and stretch juicy bits, particle effects and shading have been chosen deliberately. We have agonised over colour saturation. We spent an entire afternoon once trying to figure out how best to do transparency on the health UI. We are giving extreme thought and iteration to every single individual aspect of the game's visual design. That doesn't go away just because we're using pre-made assets. If anything, it's actually more important. Because an asset pack is utilised at its best when you don't even really know it's been used at all. I'll give you an example. This is Inscription, the award-winning meta roguelite deck builder whatever from Daniel Mullins. It's a great time, very enthralling, lovely, wonderful, great, brilliant. If you get to the credits of Inscription, and don't worry this won't have any spoilers in, you'll notice this massive section here that lists dozens and dozens of pre-made Creative Commons assets that were included in the game. Now, playing through Inscription you'd never notice, because every one of these assets is integrated into the game in a coherent way, where it fits the style of the game overall. And that's what we've done and will continue to do. No matter what assets we use, we have plans in place to make sure they fit together in a way that makes you think we made it all from scratch because we're brilliant and we make good choices. The technical aspects of how we accomplish this is all down to Foozle, but in broad terms we take a model, apply a bunch of nifty filters and shading techniques to it in Blender, then export it as a fully animated sprite sheet for use in Construct 3. This means we can test, tweak, play around, adjust and shift the colours and detail levels of our game in a very quick fashion, and I don't think a day's gone by in the last month or so that Joe hasn't popped up on Discord with some incredible new visual effect or animation that makes me go, oh my god, that's amazing, because, you know, oh my god, this is amazing. Like I said earlier, it's easily the best looking thing that my name has ever been associated with, and it wouldn't be possible without the positive and careful integration of asset packs. So, teachable moment. Use asset packs liberally, but make sure you make relevant design choices to make them coherent. What you're aiming for is seamless integration to the point that some rambling idiot has to make a 10-minute video pointing out that you're even using asset packs at all. That is the dream. You might notice that I haven't told you a single thing about the design aspects of the gameplay loop going on underneath Project NBT's new coat of paint, and that's because I really don't have time. There's just so much to unpack in there that it's going to need another video, so you'll have to wait until next time. Other than, you know, can we please focus for a second on how amazingly sick this slide looks? Other developers go with dashes and rolls. We have a slide because it's cooler. We are making the Devil May Cry 3 of twin stick shooters, probably. Anyway, I made you a promise, didn't I? We can't keep calling it Project MBT, can we? So let's fulfill our obligations and talk about... What you might have gleaned from watching the footage is that we're going with a sort of wizardly magic themed context for this game, a little bit like Magicka. In fact, much like Magicka, we're going to be leaning heavily on one of my greatest strengths, my comedy writing. Because I'm hilarious. Shut up. This is going to be a comically toned, magic-based twin-stick arcade arena roguelite, and somewhere along the way I have to fit all of that into a Steam page. If you don't know about me, I don't know how you managed to jump in on episode 3 of an ongoing devlog series, but you should know that I like context. I lean heavily on context in games. I think it can elevate an otherwise pretty good gameplay system to something special and unique. So we'll be focusing quite heavily on that comic magic scenario wrapper to provide something extra to the gameplay. I had to tell you all of this because this focus on comedic magical context has directly influenced the name of the game. I did an entire video as part of my Reiterate devlog series on the importance of a game's name, and I told you that it needs to be something catchy and representative of the experience. Now, the experience of Project MBT is twofold. One, it's a comedically themed magic-based game world, and two, it is inspired directly, quite transparently, by Smash TV. Yes folks, I'd gone this far into this episode without bringing that up, so I'm sure you knew it was coming eventually. Keep both of those points in mind as I reveal the actual name of Project MBT. Welcome to the School of Magic and Academic Study of Hocus, or for short, SMASH. For story-relevant reasons, you should know that it used to be the study of Hocus Pocus, but the sign on the front gate broke off and the government sadly had a budget cut for school public funding, so, you know. I think you can agree this basically tells you everything you're going to need to know. It gives you the context of the game and also a reference to the other game that we're ripping off to make this game, so it's pretty ideal. And on that bombshell, it is time to end. Please like the video if you liked the video and subscribe for more videos like the video you liked. Then go check out Foozle's channel where he'll eventually teach you how we're doing this magical wizardry. And I'll see you the next time I'm thinking, hey, let's talk game design.